How's it going, YouTube? This is Sam coming to you from day 70 of my solid food vacation cold press juice feast. Out here at the edge of the peninsula, at the confluence of the two rivers by where I live. And day 70, it's pretty crazy to believe I'm this far. You know, I always thought of like I would be doing this about 100 days, give or take. Wasn't sure exactly. And I thought, you know, once I hit 50, that was a big deal. And then now that I'm at day 70, I'm thinking like, wow, I'm really, you know, rounding the bend, heading for, you know, that home stretch, because I'm like, you know, in closer to 100. You know what I'm saying? And man, it feels really good. And in a lot of ways, time's moving quickly on this juice feast. You know, I mean, it's moving quickly. The days are not long, and I say that because it's not difficult to do. Doing a cold press juice feast, solid food vacation, you don't struggle. It's not a challenge. It's not like a self-imposed calorie restriction, which I used to do. I remember when I would get ready to like go on the beach, or I wanted to look chiseled, I would try to reduce my calories by like 50 to 100, or sorry, 500 to 1,000 caloric deficit per day. And I would do that for like a week, and the week would move so slow because it was a torture. It was a struggle. I was hangry all the time. I was frustrated. I couldn't sleep, you know, and those kind of worked, but people would comment on my weight loss then out of concern, whereas now they're like, wow, you look great. And you can see my skin is glowing. I haven't lost any muscle. All the dead crap is falling off me. And the days are flying by because I'm not hungry. It's not hard. You know, my carbohydrate fuel tank, as John Rose says, is full. I drink about 8 ounces of juice about every 30 to 40 minutes. And it's moving quickly. Update on my, you know, how I'm eliminating. I would say from like day 55 to 65, I was eliminating like a lot, like a big one in the morning, maybe another one in the early afternoon. Then I would have some liquids throughout the movements throughout the day, but even some solids were in that. And I was like, wow, this is you know, I'm eliminating a lot of stuff. Then at day 65, it kind of stopped a little bit, and I was still moving some liquids, but just kind of the juicy stuff, like juice mud. And I was thinking, man, am I done? Maybe I'm done. Maybe all the juicing I did before this, you know, from last July through December, January, you know, maybe I'm already clean. And, you know, reached out to Nathan, and he told, you know, advised me to wait. And actually, since then, I've been having movements, maybe back to where I was when I first started, at least in terms of the frequency, like, you know, a small, medium one in the morning, and then maybe some liquids throughout the rest of the day or something like that. So not eliminating with quite as high a frequency as I was from day 55 to 65, but still eliminating. Hoping I'm getting clean, because my fiance and I are gonna do some traveling in August. We're gonna head down to Florida for a couple weeks, and, you know, to be quite frank, I want to be done by then. It kind of puts a bit of a hard stop at around 100 or 105 days, which I'd wanted to avoid any kind of self-imposed hard stops, but with it being the kind of coronavirus summer, we really need things to look forward to. And, you know, wanted to go down and visit her parents at their beachside home for 2 weeks. It works out with our work situations, kind of working remotely, so we're going to do that. And, you know, we'll see. Hopefully I'll be done by 100, 105 days. I think I will be, but if not, it's, you know, just manage and continue to cleanse in other ways throughout thereafter. Time is moving quickly on this juice feast. The dead weight, the toxins, the crap that used to be around my midsection just kind of falls right off your body. My skin is glowing. My skin is so soft now. I mean, it's like a baby's skin, you know. It's crazy. My feet are super soft, and I don't think I've revealed in any of my videos before my age or how old I am, and you can see in the title of this video I would ask my viewers to guess how old I am. Maybe you've got a number in your head. I'm actually 36 years old. 36 years old. And you can see that most people say I look my mid-20s. You know, and certainly since this juice feast, people have told me I look young, I look like I've got a glow about me, like I have, you know, supple skin. And it's because of the juice feasting. It's because of the juicing, the raw vegetables. You know, before that I was intermittent fasting. That allowed me to lose a bit of what was going on in the midsection, but not all of it, and certainly not the nastiest stuff, like the way the juice feast is eliminating that, thereby allowing me to look even more radiant, even younger. So I would say to you that if you want to look younger, look 10 years younger in 30 days, try a juice feast. If you want your friends to notice, it would only take a week. Sorry, there's a boat zipping by, and I'll show you what I'm looking at here afterwards. In my workout video, I met a gentleman who wanted me to train him. He said to me, "Man, I want you to train me. You look great. What am I doing wrong? I'm out here doing cardio, lifting weights, doing body weight stuff." And I told him, "Look, man, muscle wise, you're fine. You got more muscle than me. Don't need to do cardio. It's just gonna make you tired. It's gonna make you hungrier, and you're probably gonna eat more, because it's, you know, when you're doing cardio, it's only a matter of 100 calories here or there, and you've overeaten." And I told him about my juice feast, and he was right on it. He was all about it. We emailed back and forth. I sent him recipes. I advised him on what kind of gear to buy, what juicer to buy. And he just finished his first 7-day juice feast yesterday. And he went hiking with his friends, and they all noticed. They all noticed he looked thinner in his face, thinner in his midsection. And he told all his friends about it, and they all want to try it too. And he already told some other friends in his family. Which just goes to show, man, 1 week, and you know. I mean, I talk a little bit about the communion with nature. I feel feeling like I'm a kid again, feeling like I'm in love with life, feeling happy, not depressed, no discontent. And that's, you know, I felt that last July when I first started juicing. And in fact, I discovered John Rose, and I think I've mentioned this a few times before, but I discovered John Rose in like late June, early July of about a year ago, 2019. And I was so into it. I ate raw for a week, and I was like, all right, this is good, but I think I need to go the next step. I wanted to juice. I already had an Omega juicer, and I just started juicing, you know, and then I figured out what I was doing along the way with recipes, mason jars, proper lids, you know, how to store my juice and things like that. But unprogrammed time in front of me to be able to do like a juice feast from home the way I do now. Last year, I had weddings to go to, I had family trips to go to and family to see, and I had to, help a family member, my mom actually move, and, all that to say I couldn't just go on a juice feast right away or a long solid food vacation because I was traveling. But I just went for it anyway. I was like, I'm just doing it, which brings up a story of my first longer solid food vacation. That was about a week. I did, the first time I started juicing, I did 3 days, and then the fourth day was actually July 4th, Independence Day, and my dad flew to visit me and my fiance that day, so I didn't juice that day, but I broke my feast with like some mangoes, and by that evening I was fine. But right after he left, I got right back on it, and I went a week. And the Saturday after that, some friends, my fiance and some friends of mine, we went kayaking in the river. And after that, I was drinking juice then, but I didn't tell them that I was on like a juice feast. They just saw me drinking juices, and I shared some of them with them, and I figured I was just gonna go home after that. But after that, they said, hey, let's all go get some food, and we want to get food, and I was too shy to tell them I was like doing this juice feast, and that Monday anyway, I had to fly to move my mom to another city, so I wasn't gonna be able to juice then anyway. So I didn't tell them, and I just said, all right, let's do it. And they knew about this great Korean restaurant that they wanted to take me to, and I was just like, I was almost frozen, but I didn't say anything, and I just went along with it, and I was like, oh dang. So I had been juicing for I think 6.5 days at that point, almost 7 days, and I was super worried because I was just gonna go to this Korean food place and just start eating food, and I thought I was gonna like get really sick or need to go to the hospital, or I don't know what. But we get to the Korean restaurant, and it was a really great place. They're a little bit outside of town, kind of cheaper place, more authentic. The first thing they do is they just cover the table with free fermented vegetables, like different kinds of Korean kimchi that they serve before a big meal. And I just started eating it, and I think we ordered some kimchi, like a kimchi pancake dish, and I ordered a grilled mackerel fish dish, which came with some kind of vegetable soup, and we had some other dishes. I ate the kimchi, and then I ate the kimchi pancake and the mackerel, and actually nothing happened. I didn't feel bad at all. And it was incredible. I was like, man, all these videos I've watched, I've heard that I'm like should feel really terrible since I broke this juice feast. What's going on? What gives? Looking back, it was only like a week. Maybe the kimchi with its fermented properties helped me break it properly. I don't know. I think I had some pizza that night because I went out with my friends. And then the next day I juiced a little bit, and then I had to get on a plane after that. So I wasn't even sure how I had to get on a plane the day after that, or 2 days after the kayaking. So I didn't even know how I was going to do this juice feast while I was traveling. I didn't even think about that. But I thought maybe I'll just do some raw foods or something, which I think I ate some raw food, like some zucchini noodles while I was traveling. Tried to get some juice, drank some pasteurized juice. But all that goes to say that my first experience with breaking my 6-7 day juice feast was, I didn't do it right, but I didn't have any side effects. It was kind of not wise, but I just went with it. And in fact, in doing that, I got a little bit sloppy because I kept doing juice feasts like that July and August, like little 4, 5, 6 day juice feasts, and I would get increasingly careless about it. I was breaking my juice feast with like sometimes nuts or dry fruit because I thought, this is raw, so it's probably fine. And that actually bit me in the butt. Like in July and August, I broke my juice with fast with some nuts and some dry fruits, and I immediately had like some diarrhea and bad gas. Then I think I did that again like another several days later, several weeks later, like in early August, and I went to a wedding, and after kind of improperly breaking my fast, like that day or the next day, I had like a bunch of hors d'oeuvres that you would get at like a wedding, and I was at the rehearsal dinner, and I ordered like some like red meat or some chicken, because I just thought, screw it, it's a special occasion, I'm looking thin. That was a bad idea, because my stomach got so big doing that, because I had improperly broken the fast. I think I did it with some nuts and some dry fruit, and then I had like wedding food the next day, just kind of irresponsibly. And you can even have that stuff if you break the fast correctly. I wouldn't advise it, but you can. But I did it irresponsibly, and like my stomach was so big, I remember just thinking, my stomach isn't even working. It merely made me realize what happens when you do eat that stuff, because the acid in my stomach wasn't even registering the food, and my stomach just kept getting bigger and bigger, and I immediately knew I had to stop eating for like 24 hours. How's it going? And luckily by the next day, after 24 hours of doing that, I had some juice. I relaxed and went down. I think after I went to sleep, I woke up and it felt fine. But it really taught me, when you break the juice feast, not that first instance, but definitely the second instance going forward, to do it responsibly. So that was kind of those early experiments and experiences with juice feasting. And of course, later on, when I was doing my 4 or 5 day juice feasts in like September, October, November even, usually come Friday I would break it with an apple, and then that afternoon I would break it with like a banana or something. A couple apples in the morning, a couple in the bananas in the afternoon, and then I would have a sensible dinner, so to speak. And then of course now I've set aside like a good 2 weeks or so, week and a half to 2 weeks of properly breaking this feast before traveling. And I know that you have the protocol for a week, and then a few days you probably want to make sure you're still getting raw foods in you, and before you take any chances with like complicated salads or cooked food. So that was my first experience with improperly breaking my juice feasts. I'm on day 70, and I started this juice feast on April 14th, and I started this juice feast on April 14th, and it's been 70 days now. We first went into quarantine around mid-March, so maybe a month prior to that. And I think, man, if I just started this juice feast in mid-March, right when we went into quarantine, I'd be done by now, Why didn't I do that? Well, for one, I didn't know how long this would be, and we're not really quarantined anymore. It's phase 1 of reopening, but I'm still working from home. We're still not traveling, still not really getting together with friends, at least not that much. And once it became clear that, wow, this is going to be kind of characterizing the season for spring and probably summer, I thought, wow, I'm gonna do a juice feast. And definitely that's when I discovered Alonzo's videos and Anastasia's videos. But I was thinking, why didn't I start this earlier? Or what was my thought process when I went into the quarantine? Because I was really into juicing and even in cleansing, and I was even doing some water fasting in February, late January, February, and early March, because it was too cold to juice feast. I was water fasting, which was mainly water, mainly like hibiscus kind of fruit teas, hot teas, some lemon water, and I was drinking espresso then, where I'm not drinking that now, but it was too cold to juice feast in January, February, March. I was doing water feasting. My longest I'd done was like 96 hours, so about 3.5 days, almost 4 days. And I remember when we went into the quarantine, my first thought was, wow, I'm gonna have to be at home now. We're not really allowed to leave. This is the perfect time to do like a longer water fast that I wanted to try, because I'd heard about the benefits of doing the longer water fasts. And I thought, man, it would be great to go 2 weeks on a water fast. And the first few weeks of the quarantine, like on the Monday or Tuesday, I tried to do that, and I could never go longer than like a couple days. My longest was like 2 days. And then I tried again the next week, and I could only go like a day and a half. And then I tried it again the next week, and I could only go like a day. And then the next week, I think I was like, man, I can't, this isn't working. The water feasting isn't happening. I think water fasting is good. I think you probably shouldn't try it every week, or maybe you can, I don't know. If you want, maybe do like 1 day a week is probably fine, maybe 2. But if you want to do a long one, you really kind of have to set an intention, maybe travel somewhere, be under someone's supervision or guidance, go on like a water fasting retreat. It would be nice to do that someday, but for whatever reason, being at home with my fiance in our apartment, with her making food and me having food in the kitchen, it just wasn't working. It didn't feel right, and I wasn't able to do it. I would just cave and eat an apple, and that felt so good. You've never had an apple that tastes so good as after you've been fasting for like 18 hours or something. And that intermittent fasting routine is something I'm sure I'll go back to, because it's really nice to have that kind of feel light, and then to just eat that fruit on an empty stomach. It just feels fantastic, and you realize you don't need to be constantly feeding yourself. But that was what I did the first month of quarantine, and I was of course having juices then too when I was eating, but I wasn't juice feasting. And then around the time of my birthday, which was early April, and Easter, I discovered, I had to listen to Alonzo's videos and Anastasia's. And another thing happened right around that time that made me think that I really want to try a juice feast. And it was the fact that the US presidential elections were happening, and they still are, but the Democratic primary was happening then. I'm, of course, on the left side of the political spectrum, and the candidate I was supporting, Bernie Sanders, had announced right around the time of my birthday and Easter that he was dropping out of the election, and it wasn't looking good for me even at that point. But that was a big blow, because up until then, things were looking good for him, and I was looking outside myself a little bit for that, hope and optimism and satisfaction. I thought, man, Bernie gets elected, we'll be able to fix the country, spend money on, things like we need, like education, healthcare, things like that. Of course, it didn't happen, and I thought, and it kind of aligned with the realization, from watching the videos of the people that inspire me, John Rose, Nathan, Alonzo, Anastasia, that I really need to look inside myself and look at what I'm doing for change, but also for contentment, for happiness, and for helping myself, for healing myself. It's not going to come from an outside, top-down politician. Those things are helpful, think some way we'll get there, but we'll get there from the bottom up, from changing ourselves and teaching others and things like that. So when his campaign folded, I thought, dang, it was very deflating, but I realized that the change that I seek and the contentment that I seek is really going to come from what I do, and I need to look inside myself rather than look externally. So those things all coincided to happen in early April, and after Easter happened, I think we ate like an Easter meal we ate some animal protein. We ate my fiance made lamb, in fact, and that was her idea, and I was in couscous. It was very nice. I was supportive, and I think my birthday was a couple days prior to that, and I ate some red meat then too. And I remember when she made the lamb, which was it was okay. Her cooking is excellent. She cooks a lot of vegan stuff. She actually turned me on to vegan way back in the day, like 2015, 16, because she got rid of dairy, and I realized how easy that was. And once I realized how easy it was to get rid of dairy, I started substituting a bunch of other stuff. But it was Easter, lamb, that seems like kind of an Easter themed entree to make, but I was cleaning off the lamb, and man, my hands and really the whole apartment, the kitchen, it smelled like the zoo, or like the inside of like an animal's cage at the zoo. It just smelled filthy, or just not natural, not appetizing. And I don't know if it was that product or where I was in my healing, or maybe just that we hadn't cooked red meat like that in a while. But I'm not sure if I made the decision that day or that weekend or when, but that next day I got on the juice feast. In fact, I didn't make enough juice that first day, so I made like 2.5, 3 quarts, because I used to do that after I would go on my little short juice feast. Since I'd eaten a lot that weekend, I could get away with just like 3 quarts or liters. So that evening I had my 2.5, 3 liters, and then I was so hungry I craved, and I ate a bunch of bananas, papayas, and dates, and then got on the juice feast the next day and made sure to make properly a gallon and a half. And that next day was actually day 1, Tuesday, April 14th. So yeah, that was a confluence of things that led me to go on the juice feast. Of course, I've talked about the other things I've sought and why I've wanted to do juice feast for so long, but we were still in quarantine. I had been inspired by the videos I'd been watching. These special occasions, my birthday and Easter had just passed. The presidential election had just been a big deflating thing, and I just looked at myself and thought, now's the time to do the juice feast. And here I am on day 70. In a lot of ways, I really can't believe it. That I'll be finishing soon, and it feels great. I'm in the best shape of my life, and the raw foods are where it's at. Was just talking to Nathan before this, and I am traveling in August, and before I would be worried about, if I go traveling, I'm staying with my fiance's parents. What if it's not, what if I'm not eating perfectly? What matters is that I'll have gotten back to the baseline. And beyond that, I know now, especially just as I knew this past year, but I know now I have that knowledge, and I'll be at the baseline that raw foods are what heals you. Raw foods are what makes you healthy, what makes you in shape, what makes you lean and chiseled. You can't put old wine in new barrels, as John Rose says. Some people think, they hear raw food and then they start eating raw food, and their stomach gets all upset, they have a lot of gas. It really helps to go on the juice feast before you make the change to a raw vegan lifestyle, because you change your taste buds, you start craving that stuff because you've been eating it. Grab some watermelon juice. It's getting a little hot out here. crave the fruits after you've done the solid food vacation and the vegetables. I'd say lemon ginger blast is probably my favorite juice I've been doing. Just the minerals, you know, it's like having a cilantro, like pico de gallo or something like that. But a solid food vacation changes your taste buds so you crave the fruits and vegetables, but also it not only does it get the waste out of your colon, it gets the waste out of your cells, but it changes your gut biome and the bacteria in your gut and the environment of your digestive system. You know, when people that just start eating raw right out of the blue, they start having that gas and that upset stomach, it's because the environment of their digestive system and what's in their gut is so different than the kale, than the fruit that they're putting in there. You got to get rid of that old crap before you put the new good stuff in, or else it's gonna not be harmonious inside you. That's why solid food vacation juice feast is so important. And I've realized that now. I've got that knowledge, but also after this juice feast, I'll return to that baseline where even if I err or I fall off the path here and there, I mean, and I can't see myself doing that other than like once at a time. Now I'm not gonna just go fall off the wagon and go back to cooked foods for like a week because, sorry, there's a juice helicopter. I'm not gonna go off the raw foods and juices except for maybe like special occasions, because I've been living this way for like a year. And before that I was vegan, before that I was intermittent fasting, and I remember the first time I started intermittent fasting and I realized, wow, I feel fantastic not digesting food all the time. And I didn't want to go back. I never did. I don't like eating in the daytime. Then I gave up dairy. Then I gave up, you know, meat for the most part. Special occasions I would still eat it, but for the most part giving up meat. And then doing juices and raw foods like 80-90% of the time for the year before this. I mean, those times you do slip up, at least in my experience, if I had like a cooked meal, I would want to go on a juice feast for like 3-4 days after that just to get it out. And you probably only need to for like a day or two. Or maybe not even, maybe you just need to incorporate some juices and some fruit and just make sure you're raw for like a day after that. But I would eat cooked food and then want to go back on the juices like the next day just to get it all out of me. And that wasn't like a scared thing. That was just like, that's what I crave, and that's what, you know, I feel like I want to do. So after this juice feast, I'll have returned to the baseline. I'm not worried about the occasional mistakes I might make. It's not what you do occasionally that gets you into trouble. It's what you do every day that gets you into trouble. And a lot of people just don't know. God bless them. You see people out here running. They want to get in shape, and they don't know how to do it. Or they don't know that if they go on a solid food vacation, they're gonna not want the foods that they're addicted to now, because suddenly it's not so hot when they go outside, and they suddenly are hopping out of bed in the morning rather than feeling like groggy and terrible in the morning. All you gotta do is go on the juices, and you'll break those chains. You know, it's a lot easier than dragging the snake out in your belly for a run around the block. That's hard, and it's not doing anything for you unless you just like to do it because it gives you some peace of mind. It's not going to make you thin. I mean, I've learned that. So excited to return to the baseline of being able to stay in balance, in a balanced way after this. So I'm excited after this 100 or so days to be firmly at the baseline, having got all the old crap that would have accumulated out of me for the first 30, 35, 36 years of my life. Not stressing about occasional sins of eating, but enjoying those times, making sure I chew that food properly so it's a liquid in my mouth so that my body can digest it. Always having the juices and the raw fruits and vegetables in my corner, knowing that that's important. Having the knowledge and that being at the baseline is really what I'm looking forward to. So, you know, I'm on the home stretch, and if you've been watching my videos, following along, thank you. Comments, ask me questions. Always love to keep in touch with folks. Thanks for watching. Before I sign off, just want to show folks where I'm at. Looks like I'm in a park here, but when I turn, do a 360, you can see I'm actually at the edge of a peninsula there, the southernmost tip of my city, Washington, D.C., East Potomac Park. Really nice, really pretty. Unfortunately, the sun isn't great from that angle, so I had to film it this way, but it's nice to see all that green in the background. I'll see you guys in the next video.